Hi.
Hi.
How
Okay.
are you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me get you back to where you are. Oh, hi.
Hi, nice to
Technical
see you.
issues. Oh, you look lovely.
Thank you. So do you.
Your background looks great.
Oh yeah, I thought it was very fitting.
So let me prepare to go live.
Great.
Yeah, I think if I turn on if I go into the room and it starts, somehow it says the meeting is in progress. And I know when I had a journal meeting on Thursday, some people had a hard time getting in.
Yeah.
So
Well, don't worry, we're here.
were you able to connect on with the link?
With the second one that you sent me, yes.
Okay. All right, well, we are live.
Great.
And we are live on Facebook right now, and I am chatting with Eileen Donahey. And I just want to introduce myself. My name is Michelle Sorensen. I am the tea goddess and owner of Tea at 1024 in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I have been serving afternoon tea with love and passion since 1999. And during this pandemic, I decided to start this live online chat as a way to connect with tea lovers around the world. And as one of my guests had mentioned, it's making the world a smaller place. And I really like that, just connecting with people. And we're all in this pandemic and we're all experiencing the same things together. But today, all the way from Belfast, Ireland, I have Eileen Donahey. She's UK's afternoon tea expert. She has an impressive 16,000 Instagram follower list and is Britain's largest Instagram account for afternoon tea. She is highly sought after by hotels and venues in the UK on how to have the perfect afternoon tea experience. And while we're just starting our day here in Hawaii, it's 9 a.m., our guest is getting ready to retire right now. So all the way from Belfast, Ireland, I'd like to welcome you, Eileen Donahey, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. And it's great to meet you and to find out more about tea culture in North America, and for me to talk a little bit about some of the tea culture that we have here. And also I think it's great to connect. As you said, this pandemic and using Zoom has made the world smaller. So it's great to meet you and talk to a tea goddess.
Yeah, well, you're the tea expert. So, in Hawaii, we had a monarchy. And we have a palace, and we have several, Queen Emma, we have the Queen Emma Summer Palace, and I help them with their afternoon tea there. And when you go into the palace, there's a collection there that she had gotten from Queen Victoria. So afternoon tea was very big, during the 1800s in Hawaii, and it was served by the monarchy there. So that's some interesting history.
I didn't know that, so that's something that I've learned already.
You can go to the Iolani Palace, it's a beautiful palace that we have, and the Queen Emma Summer Palace, and some of the other, on the Big Island of Hawaii, there's another palace as well. So they're the little resort areas, I guess, that the monarchy went to kind of get some R&R and to
exactly.
go away.
And are they open to the public? Can you go and
Yes.
visit? Yeah.
So it's on the historical registry. So it is preserved, and you can go and take tours in there. They have docents that will take you around and show you the place and tell you a bit about the history there. So that's pretty
It's,
fascinating.
yeah, it's really interesting because obviously we have a current reigning monarch, so Buckingham Palace is generally closed to the public. But in the summertime, when the Queen goes on her summer holidays, you can go and visit. So you're allowed into some of the rooms. So I went a few years ago, and you can attend and see where they hold the state banquets. So it's really impressive.
Yeah, and you went to, I saw on one of your videos, they had an afternoon tea in
Yeah, so that
Buckingham
was
Palace.
that was really special. So it's called the Queen's Summer Garden Parties. So I think they hold them over the course of a few weeks in the summer. And the day we went, I reckon there was maybe 1,000 people in total. But you have to be invited. You can't sort of apply for a ticket. It's really exclusive, and we just had the most wonderful time. We didn't get to meet the Queen, sadly, but Prince Charles was there, and Camilla. So that was a nice second.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. I mean, that
I
to
know.
be invited, what a honor to be invited, like you said.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was so great, and I can tell you that we were served scones, and the way the scones were presented, they were pre-creamed. So cream went on first, and then jam. So if anyone asks me if it should be cream first or jam, I always say, well, the Queen serves it with cream first. I
That's
wanted,
lovely. Go ahead.
yeah, I wanted to ask you, because obviously clotted cream is very, it's a UK produce. So instead of clotted cream, what do you serve with scones?
We do have clotted cream.
Oh, you
So there's,
do? Okay.
yes, so clotted cream. And we, at my tea shop, we actually do a American version or a mock clotted cream. So
Okay.
you can buy it. There's a store that you can actually buy the real clotted cream from England. So it's in a very small jar and it's pretty expensive. So
I
yeah,
can imagine.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I do serve our scones with the clotted cream and strawberry preserves. That's my favorite.
lovely. Yeah, I think strawberry is the classic that everyone loves.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I do have a question to ask. And
Yes.
um, okay, since you are the afternoon tea expert, and okay, afternoon tea versus high tea.
Okay. So they're two totally different things. So afternoon tea, as you know, is served in the afternoon. It was always designed to be a bridge between lunch and dinner. Obviously, the days when afternoon tea was invented, so the 1830s, the upper classes had a really long gap between their lunchtime and their evening meal, which wasn't until maybe 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the evening. So afternoon tea was always supposed to be served in the afternoon, and it was a light meal. So, um, when you go to tea rooms today and hotels, the portions are very big. And obviously that's because it's an experience for you, but traditionally it was a smaller affair. High tea, as the name suggests, is served on a higher table. It was served in the evening, and it was really supposed to be an evening meal. So there isn't a concrete definition of high tea. It's a bigger meal, but some people say that high tea was invented in the evening when the servants were taking a day off. So it's food that's easy to prepare. It doesn't really need heated up. It can be made earlier in the day and then just brought out so that the chef or the cook can have an evening off. So they are two different things. If you go to some hotels in the UK and you ask for high tea, so that's a photograph of afternoon tea. So high tea will contain things like a pie, quiche, cold meats, potatoes. What else would it include? Maybe smoked salmon, or it would still include sandwiches, maybe not the scones, but and some sort of dessert. So I'm going to actually make a high tea next weekend so I can photograph it and sort of explain the difference. But one of the things I may include is a nice jelly because it will look nice on the table and it's a dessert as well. So that's really the difference. But yes, if you go to a hotel in the UK and you ask for high tea, some hotels have a high tea menu and an afternoon tea menu. So you need to be careful with what it is that you want, because you might go there thinking in your mind you were having afternoon tea, but in fact you'll get something totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that people use the term interchangeably, and
Exactly.
they often refer afternoon tea to high tea, thinking that
Yes.
it has that element of being a little bit more sophisticated, when
Exactly.
the history is quite different, and it shows that, you know, it is afternoon tea that we are serving, and that yeah.
Exactly. And it's not even that it's fancier, because sometimes the term also means in some households they will refer to their evening meal as their tea. And that's because around those sort of times, like mid 19th century onwards, when the working man came home for his evening meal, there was usually a big pot of tea in the middle of the table. So that's where the term tea came from. So it's really associated with something that's a lot heavier.
Right. Yeah. Well, you are also hired out as a mystery diner. So
Yes.
hotels and venue or hotels. And what are the telltale signs of the quality, and what is it that you look for in when they're serving afternoon tea?
Yeah, so really I look at the whole experience. So before I even arrive at the venue, I will go on the website, look at the photographs, look at the menu, consider the price, and basically get that first impression before even arriving. And when I get there, I judge everything. So the moment my foot crosses the door, I look at everything as part of the experience. So look at the service, how you're introduced, what if you're brought to the table, what the presentation is like, when the tea is served, is the menu being explained, absolutely everything. And then I look at the food quality and the tea quality, because the tea quality is very important. Some venues will get very expensive tea, but they may brew it not quite right, and you can really taste the difference. All of those things, and then based on that, I look at the price and consider whether or not it's good value for money. And then I help hotels and say, look, maybe you might want to tweak a few things that will help save them money, that are easy things to do. Even if it's training staff, maybe some staff might need some more pointers. But yeah, the last before lockdown, I was invited to a press event for a new hotel in London, and I was really excited. They had spent millions doing it up, and when I got there, the first thing I did, I had to go to the bathroom, so the ladies' room, and this is the kind of I know I'm a bit OCD, but this is the kind of detail. So I went to the bathroom and the toilet seat was broken, and I thought, this is a brand new hotel, you've spent millions, and these are the kind of details that I look for, because that sort of sets the tone of, the whole atmosphere of the hotel, and, cleanliness of the bathroom as well. I sort of look at and consider, okay, if this is what the bathroom is like that I can see, what is the kitchen going to be like? So really looking at everything, and like how the waiters are dressed. So making sure like their uniforms have to be immaculate. I basically look at everything. I'm very observant, as my husband tells me.
Well, I think that's important, and the details do matter. And like you said, the little details like the cleanliness of
Yeah,
is very important. And then you feel
exactly.
comfortable, especially at this time, right? And we're going to be opening up again for dining in soon. And there are certain things that are in place as far as what we have to do to make sure that it is clean. And I am a clean freak myself. So it's already, I'm pretty much sanitizing and cleaning anyway. So that detail, very, very important.
I think it's important, because with afternoon tea, it's usually it's a special occasion. So maybe it's someone's birthday, or someone's getting married, or a baby shower. So you want it to be perfect.
Yeah. Well, one of the challenges that I have in my tea room, because I am in the historic part of downtown Honolulu, and so my
Okay.
building is like from the late 1800s, and it's on the historical registry. But we are we're the dividing line between downtown and Chinatown. So we have very colorful people,
Yeah.
characters that I have an alcove. So oftentimes I have resident homeless that come. So
Okay.
every morning we have to clean the windows and we have to
Yeah.
clean our stoops. So, people do, downtown Honolulu is charming. So when you
Hmm.
do come in, you've got to kind of wade through maybe the people that are around there. But when they walk into the door of the tea shop, I want it to be this magical experience, from the minute that they choose their teacup, till they take their to-go
Oh,
and
that's
everything.
so,
Yeah, so we have them choose their teacups, and I do have
that's so
hats there.
lovely.
However, we can't do the hat thing now, so yeah, because of the pandemic, so we took that away. But
That's really lovely to choose your teacup because there's so much history within porcelain china as well. And I have one here that I thought I would do a little demonstration. So it's lovely bright yellow.
that's so
Um,
mine. Is this
so
mine?
it's gorgeous.
Oh, wait. Oh,
Very nice.
yeah. With the virtual background, it gets a little difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gorgeous. So mine is Royal Stafford, but I think it's so nice. Tea, I believe this is a fact that tea tastes better when it's drunk out of a lovely teacup.
I agree.
Yeah, so definitely. But I wonder, did you want me to show you some etiquette around the teacup?
Of course. And well, you know what, too? Let's do do you have a napkin?
I
Yeah.
do, possibly. Where are my napkins? Yes, I do.
And then how to unfold the napkin and place it on your lap. That would be the first
Sure.
thing.
Okay. So what I would recommend is definitely before you start to eat or drink anything, your napkin should go on your lap. So I usually order and then put the napkin on. So if your napkin is on the table, make sure that you open it out fully. So yes, there we go. So open it and fold it in half. Okay, so the fold here, so hopefully you can see that, you need to place that towards you, okay? And then place it on your lap. So it looks like this. So the flap is here and this part is here. And that's really important because if anything happens to fall onto your lap, the way that I have it set, it will mean that it doesn't get lost inside the napkin. And you can, when you're finished, I usually fold it in half like that, just in case you don't want to stain your lap or any of your clothing. So fold it in half and then back again when you're finished. And when you are finished, you put your napkin on the table. And if you need to take a break or go to the bathroom, put it on your chair.
Okay. That's a very good basic.
Yeah, and I mean, so many people don't use their napkin, and I'm quite clumsy as a person. So if I didn't, I would be, jam, chocolate everywhere. So my top tip is make sure you use the napkin.
Yes. Okay. Then let's see on the, oh no, okay, let's first, before we do the tea,
Yes.
what makes the perfect scone? And
Oh,
well, you kind of pronounced a little, I mean, you shared about how to eat it. Cream first,
yes.
jam second, jams first, cream second. Is it a preference?
Yeah. So I say it's personal preference unless you are in Cornwall. So Cornwall is really the home of clotted cream. And because they're so proud of their cream, they put their jam on first and then put the cream second. And that's because they want to show off the cream. Whereas in Devon, they do it the other way around. So there was a little bit of kind of competition between those two counties that, one says cream first, the other says jam first. I say it's personal preference. One thing that is very important with a scone, because, oh, and it is pronounced scone, it's not scone, so you said it correctly. So one thing, because a scone is from the bread family, you make sure that you use your fingers to break it. That's really important, because if you use a knife, you kind of hack away at it and take away the kind of lovely fluffy texture. So use your fingers, it should just break in half beautifully. And formal etiquette would say that you should break off smaller bite-sized pieces. I think it's okay just to layer one side of the scone, as long as you don't spill or make a mess. You definitely do not sandwich them back together. So keep them separate. Yeah,
that's what I learned. Just like eating bread, like you said, a piece at a time, and just eat it. And yes. And I just made some lavender scones the other day with this recipe, and I thought I put too much lavender in it, but I thought it tasted good. And I got a review because I was a little nervous when I was serving it. We were doing the curbside to go boxes.
Oh, yeah.
And she had wrote that it was the best lavender scone that she's ever had. So I was just touched. I was like, yes.
Well, that's amazing.
Okay, so yes. So if teacups could talk, right?
Yeah.
Our virtual background isn't there.
Yes.
Teacups, like you said, I am right there with you in believing that, a proper cup of tea needs to be served in a teacup. And that's why I have a very difficult time when people ask for to-go cups in a little, I don't do it. Right now we're doing a few of them, but I still package up their tea. It's all loose. And we have these little plant-based tea bags that we're putting it in so that they can go home and then they can just serve it themselves.
I've started to use those as well. They're quite, if you just want to quickly make tea for maybe if it's just one person, they are ideal. Really
right.
Good.
Yeah, the loose tea, I've been doing loose tea from the very beginning, and I prefer to have the loose tea. I think it tastes better, and the unfurling of the leaves and the full-bodied flavor of the tea is great. Oftentimes, and there was a really great article that was done by CNN, and they were exposing the tea bags that were like even the little silk tea bags that they were infusing microplastics because they were using polyurethane to keep the tea bags together to hold their body when they put it in hot water. So fortunately, the company that I deal with has been using plant-based tea bags from the very beginning. So that was one thing I didn't have to worry about. The first thing I looked on the website and I was like, oh my God, I started getting nervous, so very important that, I know there was an article or you had talked about the quality of tea on International Tea Day.
Yes, that was on the 21st of this month.
Right.
Because not very many people are aware of, where tea comes from, the journey of tea, when it's loose leaf, it's hand plucked, the treatment of workers, but also the sustainability side of it. So the tea bags, not many people know that they do contain, those microfibers of plastic. And also when it comes to climate change, because so I have a Darjeeling tea that I was going to talk a little bit about. Tea is grown in really specific altitudes and climates that really help it grow and give us that beautiful taste. And with climate change and how things may progress in 10, 20, 30 years, we might not get the same kind of tea that we have today. So I think it is important to be aware of where your tea comes from. Would have quite good ethics when it comes to where my food comes from, but also clothing, and really consider where you buy it from.
That's I think it's being socially responsible, and we need to, like you said, be very mindful of where products and things are coming from, clothing being one. The company that I deal with for the tea, thankfully, from crop to cup, you know, they are very conscious of where they get their teas from, and they're part of the Ethical Tea Partnership. So
Yeah.
that is, for those that don't know, it's um, an organization that monitors the living conditions of the estate workers on the tea farms to make sure that there's no child labor, that they have education, that there's schools, that they're being paid a living wage. And so those are important things to consider when you are purchasing your tea and who you're
Yes.
purchasing from.
Yeah, for sure.
So I did, because you said you like Darjeeling as your favorite, so I did have
Amazing.
Darjeeling in my cup.
So
So
I'll go ahead and brew myself a little cup. Yeah, I think it's the loose leaf tea is wonderful because it just tastes so much better. I recently helped a friend and gave her a little lesson around loose leaf tea and how to brew it properly. And she went to visit someone who gave her like tea bag, and she said she really noticed the difference in taste. So you know the taste difference is a big thing. And what is is tea the most popular hot drink in Hawaii, or would it be coffee?
well, you know, because we're still part of the United States.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's totally true, but the history, the Boston Tea Party, you know, when the Americans, you know, when not the Americans came to America, when the Brits
Yeah.
came to America and became the Americans, and then, you know, they just kind of rebelled against Britain, and then they had the afternoon tea. So they actually boycotted tea. And at one
Oh,
point, the United States was one of the largest tea drinking nations prior to the Boston Tea Party. So they got pretty upset with the mother country and said, you know, forget you, you know. And so
okay.
they started boycotting a lot of the teas. So in America, coffee is still number one, but in the world, tea is the second most drunk beverage next to
Yeah.
water.
Yeah,
So
it's huge. It is
it's
huge.
gaining more popularity. Afternoon tea is, you know, gaining. I've been doing it now for 23 years. So,
Yeah.
but no, more and more companies are serving tea, but mostly it is in tea bags. So a
Yeah.
lot of people need to be educated on
They,
the pleasures
yes,
of loose tea.
they do. So I've just let this brew, and for the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and pour this. And I just wanted to maybe talk a little bit about the teacup and some etiquette around that. So you always pour your tea first and your milk second. So the reason why you do that is practical reasons, so that you can actually see how much milk you need depending on the strength of the tea. But another reason is in England, when fine bone china was first introduced, not everyone could afford it. So there was a cheaper plaster version made, which looked the same, but when hot tea was poured in, it used to crack. So in order to get around that, people would add the milk in first to sort of help coat the teacup. Mm-hmm. But it was looked down upon. So if you had to, there was a saying, they would say, you know, that person's very cream first. And what they meant by that was they were a bit cheap.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So teacup, if you were adding milk, you don't add milk to Darjeeling, but if you were to add milk and you wanted to stir, you just backwards, forwards. You don't clank across, backwards and forwards. So that's all you have to do. And it's good to let it cool a bit. If as I'm sitting down, we do not use the saucer when we sit down. Instead, we will leave it on the table. It's only if you stand up that you would need the saucer. In terms of holding the teacup, I hope you can see my hand. Mm-hmm. So you just pinch the handle and let all your other fingers follow after. And when you drink, you look into the teacup, not up, in case you splash. So that's it. We definitely do not want to see any of these. That's a big no-no. Right. So the pinkies stay in. It's people think that it's fancy, but it's actually bad manners.
I read once the reason why people were doing the pinky up because the teacups were hot. And so they actually, to keep the fingers from get burnt, I mean, you know, they were doing that. So yes, but yeah, I understand it's not.
Yeah, because when teacups were first introduced, some of the early ones don't even have the handles. It's more like a little small bowl. So it's one of the reasons. And it's just considered the upper classes just to hold their fingers out whenever they would eat food prepared by a servant. And it was, you know, because they didn't want to catch germs. I do a longer video about this on my Instagram, but yeah, they didn't want to get germs. There's a whole variety of reasons.
And the okay, I'm going to show this picture here because this is a lovely picture.
Oh yes.
Is that?
So that is Belfast City Hall.
It looks like a drawing.
No, it was just the way the light was on the day. The domes on the top are like really vivid green. And that was, I was in a hotel next door, really one of the like high-rise hotels, and I took a photograph of City Hall because my husband is currently the Deputy Lord Mayor of Belfast. So I am the Deputy Lady Mayoress of Belfast. There you go.
I love it. Yeah, so those are the patinaed, the buildings are so old because it's copper, right? The roofs.
Yes.
And they turned that beautiful patina green.
It's really unusual for Belfast to have such a nice city hall. It's really beautiful inside. There's a lot of marble, all stained glass windows. They have a lot of statues and artwork inside as well. So it's really unique building. It's probably one of the nicest city halls that I've been to. I was in Stockholm to their city hall, where they hold the dinner for the Nobel Prize each year, and I think Belfast is nicer.
Have not been to Belfast. That's where our honeymoon. We went to Ireland for our honeymoon, but did not get a chance to go to Belfast. But definitely we'll have to
next time.
Yes, and this is a fun picture here.
Yeah, so I was invited to, the bus behind me is a special bus in Dublin, and they offer afternoon tea on the bus, but they also will give you a tour of the city. So it's a really nice way if you are just there for a weekend and you want to do both. And that was they had like a press photographer there who took that photograph. But yeah, we had a great time. It was really lovely to see Dublin in that way, because although I've been so many times, I haven't really done the sort of touristy bits of it that much. So yeah, it was really interesting. The one fact I remember from the bus was that Arthur Guinness, who obviously owns Guinness, his wife had something like 18 children. It was something huge. That's what I remember.
Oh my. Yeah, Guinness. Yeah. And you know, when we were in Ireland, we would go to the pubs. Of course, Guinness was served. Mm-hmm. My husband is from Denmark, and they also had Carlsberg. There was quite a bit of places that were serving Carlsberg beer. So that's Danish's beer, or Denmark's beer. Yeah.
Yes. So Carlsberg's popular. But yeah, I mean,
it's lighter than Guinness.
It is light. Yeah, I can't drink Guinness. It's too heavy. I'll stick to tea.
Yeah. Or a nice glass of wine. I do like to have a nice glass of wine. And I just pulled this picture off. This is a really cute picture of you. I couldn't get the whole picture in the virtual background.
That was my husband and I. We were on the front page of the newspaper, the big newspaper in Northern Ireland. So it's the Northwest Telegraph or the Belfast Telegraph. And that was just before we got married. because I think I'm not sure if he was the only deputy Lord Mayor to get married during his tenure, or, well, they wanted to do a story. So that was me reading the paper.
I love the hat. That's a great
Yes.
hat.
Yeah, it was really nice.
And, but, you know, I was going through your Facebook page, and, you know, for those of you who are listening, you've got to go to her Facebook page and take a look, go through her videos. There's one in particular that I absolutely loved, and it was the one that I think you were doing for International Tea Day, and you kept trying to introduce yourself, and you were being very, it was great because you had take after take after take, and it was just, you know, nice to see, you know,
Yeah,
that fun side of you, and also
exactly.
the challenges of doing video presentations, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, I think when I do my videos, I probably make them look easy, but there's a lot of work that goes into putting videos together behind the scenes, and even the photographs, styling the photographs at home, and, you know, getting the right shot and everything does take time. So it's great that, you know, people follow me and they enjoy seeing the photographs.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is where you can follow Eileen on Instagram with your 16,000 followers. That is so impressive. I am just like giving you a big clap there. You can't see me doing that, but how did you get so many? How did that come about?
I think
Besides
it's
everybody just
really,
liking you.
yeah, like so many people, because afternoon tea is so popular. You know, every weekend when people go for afternoon tea, no matter where they go, I get tagged in tons of pictures. And I mean, I started it as a hobby, and, you know, so the Instagram account has been around for 5 years maybe. So, you know, it's just kind of always been there. It's growing, and who knows where it'll end up.
But it's fantastic. I mean, that's very, very impressive. And then you've got your Facebook page
Yes.
they can visit, and also your afternoon tea on your website. They
Yes.
can, go ahead.
So there's a newsletter as well on the website. So if anyone wants news, I send out a newsletter every month, and the next month focus is all about afternoon tea at home and recipes, what you need. And we'll be talking a little bit about afternoon tea delivery as well, because, as you know, Michelle, it's really important to make sure that you get your afternoon tea or your tea from a reputable source. Because there was an article in the BBC today about deliveries around afternoon tea has increased. So it's just really important to make sure you get it from, you know, someone established like yourself, rather than someone who's just set it up in their kitchen and they may not have, you know, the hygiene standards that we talked about earlier, that they're not properly qualified is not the right word. What's the word? They don't have the correct standards from their local council.
So, well, you know, it's been great getting to know you, and I'm so appreciative that you had answered my email to join me and chat with me, and get to see your lovely face and all your, you know, expertise that you have in the tea world. And I hope that everyone that's watching has found this entertaining. And please definitely check out Eileen's website and her Instagram and Facebook page. Like this video, and you can join me next week. I'll be chatting with Judith Helen from Helen's Royal Tea House, and she has a tea blog where she travels around the world having afternoon tea. So I think this is, you know, I don't know really how to end. I haven't figured out a graceful way to end a meeting on
Okay.
Zoom, because once I just hit the end button, we're going to disappear. But I just wanted to go ahead.
Yeah, no, lovely to talk to you and find out more about what you do, and to share some more knowledge with a fellow tea lover.
Yes.
So thank
And
you.
when you come to, you have to come to Hawaii, and you
Yes.
have to have afternoon tea with me. I would just
Yeah.
love to have afternoon tea with you. But I'm going to say aloha and mahalo, and thank you so much for joining me today. And for everyone else, to wish you a happy Memorial Day, and aloha. Have a fond aloha.
Aloha. Bye-bye. Bye.